Did you know that in the olden days people used to use bicycles in wars to move around soldiers and supplies? Can you imagine that? But we're not going to bore you today by talking about all that. We're actually here to tell you about the top 10 best cyclists of all time and their achievements. So in today's video, let's talk about some cyclists who've left us all in awe. Starting off with number 10, we've got Eddy Merckx. There was a time when people labeled Edouard Louis Joseph Baron Merckx, who was a Belgian professional road and track cyclist, aka Eddy Merckx, the most famous and successful cyclist of all time. The French magazine Vélo called him the most accomplished rider that cycling has ever known. So he most definitely deserves the 10th spot on our list of the top 10 best cyclists of all time. During his time as a cyclist, Eddy won 5 times in both the Tour de France and the Giro d'Italia. He became the world champion 3 times and won the Volta a España once. In his prime, he won all the classic monument races of professional cycling at least twice each for a total of 19 classic wins. In fact, other than his career as a racer, you might have also heard of him in the commercial sporting industry since the man's got his own line of bikes called Eddy Merckx Cycles. Next up at number 9, there's Jacques Anquetil. Anquetil was the very first rider to win the Tour de France 5 times. He did this by winning it 4 times in a row from 1961 to 1964 after winning it for the first time in 1957. In individual time trial stages, he was known for being able to ride alone against the clock, earning himself the nickname Monsieur Chrono because of it. In the 100-kilometer time trial at the 1952 Summer Olympics in Helsinki, he won the bronze medal while riding for France. He went 9 years without losing the Grand Prix Destinations title, and in 1963 he was called France's Champion of Champions by the magazine L'Equipe. In 1965 he was named Chevalier de l'Ordre National du Mérite, and a year later he earned himself the Chevalier of the Legion of Honor. Moving on to number 8, let's talk about Bernard Hinault. There's no way you haven't heard of the French cyclist who won all 3 Grand Tours more than once. Hinault is one of the 6 professional racers who've managed to win all 3 Grand Tours. Not only this, but he was the only cyclist to win or come in second place in every Tour de France he competed in, and was also the last French person to win the competition. During his cycling career, he won a total of 28 stages, out of which 13 of those were individual time trials. And over the course of his 12-year career, he won more than 200 races. Adding to his victory list were his achievements in the Giro d'Italia, which he won thrice, and also twice in the Volta a España. What's crazy is that at the 1980 Liège Classique, he finished the race almost 10 minutes ahead of his next competitor. Now for number 7, we've got Mario Cipollini. Cipollini, an Italian professional road cyclist who has since retired, was often called Cippo by the media. You might have seen his picture around somewhere in the fastest sprinters section. He's won 191 championships over the course of his career, which went from 1989 to 2005. And because of that, he's also called Le Roi Lion and Super Mario. Later, it was reported that from 2001 to 2004, the media accused him of getting performance-enhancing drugs from Dr. Eufemiano Fuentes to help him do better. So after leaving the professional circuit, he came back in 2008 for the Tour of California with Rock Racing, where he earned 3rd place on Stage 2. And in 2010, he began his own brand of bicycles, which were later used in tournaments by the Italian ISD Neri team. Not to mention at number 6, there's Jan Ullrich. Ullrich was a German professional road racer who won 2 medals, including a gold medal at the 2000 Summer Olympics in Sydney. In 1997, he won the Hue Cyclassics in Hamburg, and in 1999, he won the Volta a España. Even though he won those competitions so many years back, he's still someone whom you'll hear about often since he made cycling popular in Germany. The bicycle boom in Germany was a big deal, and Jan's performance made his country very proud. But the celebrations stopped when the Court of Arbitration for Sport found him guilty of doping in 2012. The court took away all of the World Road Race Champions' accomplishments in 2013, which was very bad news. In May 2006, he started making his own line of bikes called the Jan Ullrich Collection. Let's not forget to talk about number 5 on this list, Fausto Coppi. Angelo Fausto Coppi, a famous Italian cyclist who raced before and during World War II, is still remembered as the most powerful rider of his time. Since 1940, 1942, he has held the world hour record at the Velodrome Vigorelli in Milan for 14 years. Then in 1956, Jacques Anquetil beat that record. He won the Giro d'Italia for the first time in 1940 when he was only 20 years old and went on to win the race 5 more times. In 1949 and 1952, he won the Tour de France and was titled the world champion a year after that. During his cycling career, he was also a winner of the Milan-San Remo Classic 3 times and the Giro di Lombardia 5 times. Even today, you'd get to hear about his achievements in the world. What's more, at number 4, we've got Miguel Indurain. Miguel Indurain Larrea, a retired Spanish road race cyclist, won the Tour de France 5 times in a row from 1991 to 1995. He also won the Spanish Amateur National Road Championship, making him the youngest racer ever to do so. If you don't know him by his name, then there's a chance you might recall his nicknames Miguelian or Big Mig, which he gained solely because of his huge size. He's one of the few cyclists who've won both the Giro and the Tour in the same season. The man is currently serving as a member of the Laureus World Sports Academy. Up next for number 3, there's Sean Kelly. A lot of us still consider John James Sean Kelly, an Irish professional road bicycle racer, as one of the best classic riders in cycling history. During the 1980s, he was the most powerful cyclist the world had ever seen. From 1977 until 1994, the professional cyclist won a total of 193 races, including 9 monument classics. And in March 1984, when the FICP ranks started, he was the first cyclist to be ranked number 1 in the world. And he was world number 1 for a record-setting 6 years. Kelly has earned multiple praises for his championship victories in races like Milan, San Remo, Giro di Lombardia, Paris-Roubaix, and Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Now for number 2 on this list, let's talk about Felice Gimondi. Gimondi was an Italian professional race cyclist who used to go by the nickname The Phoenix. He was the second cyclist after Jacques Anquetil to sweep all 3 Grand Tours of road cycling. The cycling champion has won the Giro d'Italia 3 times and the Tour de France once in 1965. Besides that, in 1968 he won the Volta a España. Not only this, but in 1966 Gimondi won both the Paris-Roubaix and the Giro di Lombardia races, along with his medal in the 1973 UCI World Championships. In his honor, a big cycling tournament held every year around Bergamo is called the Gran Fondo Felice Gimondi. Benanchi also gave one of their high-end frame sets the name FG Light. As of now, the former athlete is the president of the Bianchi cycling team TX Active, which focuses on mountain bike races. Finally, at number 1, we've got Armstrong. Lance Edward Armstrong was one of the most talked about athletes of all time. From 1999 to 2005, he won the Tour de France 7 times in a row, but after a doping test came back positive, the authorities took away all of his accomplishments. He started entering national competitions when he was 16 years old. Then in 1989 and 1990, he won the National Sprint Course Triathlon title twice in a row. Armstrong won both the Classica de San Sebastian in 1995 and the World Championship in 1993. He also won the Tour du Pont 2 years in a row from 1995 to 1996. Adding up to all of that, he won every Tour de France race he entered and a bronze medal at the Summer Olympics in 2000. From 1998 to 2005, he gained all these accomplishments as a member of the U.S. Postal and Discovery Team, and from 2010 to 2011 with the Team Radio Shack, a UCI Pro team. After that, he retired. Well, that is a wrap for this video, so what did you think about these top 10 cyclist pros who still are talked about in today's world? Do you think each of them deserve to be ranked in this list? Let us know in the comments below. Also, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this, and we'll see you in the next one.